Yair Rodriguez versus Alexander Volkanovski has been officially announced for UFC 290, and this probably makes it one of the most stacked cards of the year. Mark and I are going to go over the card, but before we do that, if you're new here, make sure you subscribe as we have brand new videos every single week. So, Mark, let's start straight away. Are you excited for the card? Because after two lackluster cards at UFC 288 and 289, this feels like a really big marquee card.
Yep, 100%. Especially like you say, after 288, 289, when they're a little underwhelming, it almost feels like, all right, UFC is back with the bangers of cards that they've been producing over the recent years. It seems to be almost every month there's a super fight. Don't get me wrong, though, 288 and 289, look at some good fights here and there, but it's not like something where, oh, this is an absolute barn burner. I can't miss a minute of this. I'll be watching the prelims as well. But 290 has just blown anything out of the water. This is probably the best card of the year so far, I think.
Yeah, it has to be, doesn't it? I think even the prelims are exciting. First, before the card officially got announced, I wasn't sure where everyone's going to be placed, but we'll get onto that in a minute. So let's talk about the title fight. We have Alexander Volkanovski versus Yair Rodriguez. Do you think Yair deserves this title shot after going off a loss of Max Holloway and that TKO injury win over Brian Ortega?
Yeah, I think so. Because don't forget, though, he submitted Josh Emmett in a recent UFC. I think he's well and truly deserved it. He's been floating around that top area, you know, fighting and competing with the top division guys for a good while now as well. And in featherweight, who else is there? Are we not just refreshed that Volk's getting someone else new? I'm not so sure how it's going to go, but we'll get into the predictions in a later video. But yeah, I'm just happy that it's getting mixed up. Yeah, what about yourself?
Yeah, I personally don't think he deserves the title shot, but like you said, who else is there, right? You know, if Max Holloway is going to keep beating all these contenders, the contenders Max beats are going to have to fight Volk as well, because we can't have that Volk versus Holloway rematch again. You know, we've said this multiple times, but that's just a fact, isn't it? So, no, I'm not sure Yair deserves it, but I think it's going to be a fun fight. But talking of the fight, do you think this is going to be another masterclass by Volkanovski, or do you think Yair here can maybe have some success?
It's so hard to bet against Volkanovski, isn't it? Like in any aspect, like he's done so well against every single one, undefeated at featherweight. You know, I mean, it's so good. Every hole in his game, like you said before, it seems to be every single round that he comes out is a different fighter anyway. He adjusts and he adapts to whoever is in the octagon with. I can see Yair, you know, doing well. I don't want to say he's going to steamroll him, but you know, Volk's just too good. I honestly, like, if he does beat Yair, I could see Volk moving up to lightweight permanently. I could see that happening.
Yeah, it really could. And to be honest, I'm kind of leaning the same way, but I think we might get a really easy win here for Volkanovski. I think he's just too good. And after seeing him fight Islam, it just propelled him even further up, didn't it? He showed us how good he actually is. I always thought it was really good, but there I think he really proved it. And I'm just not sure Yair is going to have anything that Volk's not seen before. You know, I don't think he's got particularly high enough level striking that he's not seen before. He's certainly not better than Max. He certainly doesn't have a better grappler than Islam. And so I just don't see what Yair is going to present new that Volk's not seen before. But, you know, anything can happen, can't it? But we'll have to wait and see. So with Brandon Moreno versus Pantoja, are you excited to see him fight someone different finally, rather than 4 fights on the trot and a Kai Kara France in between?
Yes, yeah, it's nice to see that flyweight division just getting mixed up, to be honest with you. I mean, don't get me wrong, enjoyed every single one of the Brandon versus Figgy fights, but just to see this get mixed up finally, and then you get new contenders coming through, you're like, perfect. We can actually breathe now, because this is like since late 2020 when this, you know, that division, I don't want to say was held up, because it wasn't exactly held up when you're getting banger after banger of fights, you know what I mean? But yeah, it's just refreshing. It's a breath of fresh air in order to get someone else come through. Like, oh, someone else's chance to shine. Because don't forget, it wasn't too long ago that they were almost going to scrap that division.
Yeah,
they were going to scrap the flyweight division, and that fight almost just saved it. So now it's more chance for someone else to shine, to come through, to give an opportunity for the fans to, actively watch these sort of fighters, because it's putting them on a stage, isn't it? Don't forget, this is the co-main event, and a lot of people won't have heard of Pantoja.
No. And that's the thing. I think a lot of people, like you said, won't have heard of Pantoja. And it is great to finally push these people up and create more stars, isn't it? Because, Pantoja and Brandon Moreno, that's going to be a very, very interesting fight. And it's a fight that we've seen twice already. And a lot of people probably don't realize that, because one was on the Contender Series, or was it Contender, or was it the Ultimate Fighter? I always get them mixed up. It was on one of those. But Brandon's lost to him twice already. Do you think that's going to sort of loom over Brandon? Do you think he's going to come into that fight worried? Because if I've lost twice to someone already, I think I'm going to be worried I'm going to lose the third time.
Well, I mean, trilogies in recent times. I was going to say, I was going to eat my words there as well, because I was going to say Brandon and Figgy, that kind of thing, but that didn't really make a difference. I don't know. He's going to be well aware, but Brandon's world class, and he's adapted to being championship level since these Figgy fights. Anyway, he's gone the distance with someone that was an absolute killer. Davison was a murderer. Do you remember him? Some of his highlight reel is just like kind of hard to watch, I guess, especially against is it Benavidez? The choke that he had, and it looks like something from a horror film. It just looks disgusting. I mean, Brandon can cope. He can hang in them deep waters with that kind of level of fighter. So he's going to adapt. I mean, I could end up eating my words, and if he just gets ran over and then it's 3-0, then I'll just shut my mouth. I think I'm going to stop doing predictions, to be honest.
Well, if I stopped doing predictions every time I was wrong, I'd have stopped doing predictions ages ago. But I think with Pantoja and Brandon, with their previous fights, it was quite a while ago, and Brandon Moreno has moved so drastically from that point. But Pantoja probably has as well. So I am curious to see what they're both like when they come into this fight, and it's probably going to be two completely different fighters and a completely different fight. So that's why it makes this, even though it's a trilogy, still exciting. But we've spoke of Robert Whittaker and Dricus du Plessis in a previous video. That video will be in the description below, so make sure you check that out. But do you think du Plessis should even be fighting the number one contender yet, after coming off a win from Derek Lewis and Derek Brunson? Not Derek Lewis. Darren Till. Imagine du Plessis versus Derek Lewis. Oh my God. They'd be both gassed after a round, just knackered.
Yeah. To answer your question, Dwayne, no, I find it a little like this very much as a push. And to be honest, the middleweight division's almost in that same genre anyway, in the sense of, well, who else is there for top level contenders? Izzy's beat everyone, Whittaker's beat everyone else, and now we're getting, an actual different contender. So I am grateful in a sense, but you just feel like it's been, it's like one of the little Mario speed things. What you go over, it's just like he's all of a sudden fallen on one of them, and now he's fighting Robert Whittaker.
Yeah,
I mean, he might end up proving me wrong. He might end up surprising me. And if he can knock off Robert Whittaker, he's definitely in line for a title shot. Anyone who beats Whittaker deserves it, to be honest.
Yeah, I actually think the opposite. I don't think this is a push. I think this is a squash. I think they know du Plessis is not that guy. And I think they're essentially feeding him to Robert Whittaker and then just giving Whittaker that big jump up. Right, let's give him another title shot. I could be wrong, though, but I just don't see du Plessis winning, and I don't think the UFC see him winning either. But though, my next question for you is, we've got Robbie Lawler having his retirement fight on this card, and he's on the prelims, but we've got Turner versus Hooker and Nickel versus Gore on the main card instead. Do you think this is a little bit disrespectful to Robbie Lawler? Do you think that he should be having his retirement match on the main card rather than the prelims?
I mean, Robbie Lawler's a complete veteran. He's been around for a long time. He understands the game. He understands the business. I think he's exactly what kind of employee the UFC dream of. You know, he just goes in, puts on a great show. Even now, in this late stage of his career, he still puts on bangers. Even win, lose or draw, he puts on great fights. Always fun to see. Him being on the prelims, I don't think it really takes much away from him because he'll understand the assignment, Robbie. Business is business. You know, you've got two rising stars there as well. It does make sense. I mean, plus people are going to be drawn in. People will watch Robbie Lawler fight, so they will be drawn into the prelims in order to watch his retirement. Just on a side note, though, like it's always sad when people retire, but when you know this is his last fight coming up, I don't know if it's better or worse than not knowing, and then they just take the gloves off at the end because you think it's Robbie Lawler. Though I've always enjoyed watching him fight. You know, like everyone has done. Even from way back when, 20 years ago, that kind of thing. You watch old fights of him, and it's like it's the same fighter. It's still the same dog. He don't get gun shy or anything like that, you know. And obviously, everyone knows about him and Rory McDonald. Give us one of the best fights ever. It is sad overall, just because we're all big fans of Robbie. But you know, I hope he goes on to do something else, maybe even an analyst, something. I'm not too sure. I hope that isn't the last we see of him.
No, there'll definitely be something for Robbie, whether it's coaching or whether it's in the box or there's something there for him. He's such a fun, and he's a pretty big star as well, isn't he? You know, we all love Robbie. And yeah, I don't know whether I'm happy or not that he's on the prelims because, again, the prelims are free and a lot of people will be watching, a lot of people will be tuning in. So there'll still be a lot of eyes on him. And I think most of the sort of hardcore fans who love Robbie Lawler will be watching him. But I would love to see that fight open the main card. But again, you've got stars like Bo Nickel in there who they're really pushing, and he could be a huge name one day. So I see the benefit of, okay, let's put Bo Nickel on this main card because we can really get a lot of eyes and a lot of attention on him and push him up to be that star that we hope him to be. But I do think that's all we've got time for. Thank you for watching. If you can like, comment, and subscribe, it really does help us out.